All right, then, Terrence. Last word goes to you. What what's better? Like difficulty modes. Like, all right, we're gonna have the easy mode, the hard mode, the medium mode, whatever. Or like, hey man, the game is as hard as it's gonna be, whether it's gonna be really hard or not that hard at all. But we'll teach you the mechanics. Like, which one is better?
It's interesting because I've been thinking about this since Rakeem was talking about Elden Ring and how there is definitely a difference in design philosophy. Like you have like with the Soulsborne games, you have them where it's designed intentionally to be difficult to a certain degree. And you have a game like Last of Us. Last of Us is probably one of the better games in terms of giving you like a good difficulty slider. Um, Now, but I will say, well, I guess let me back up a little bit. I do think that there's a difference between a game that's designed to be difficult, like inherently difficult, and a game that just has like difficulty settings. And it really, like you
Facts.
all mentioned,
Facts.
it really depends on how the developers tweak each and every setting. Because you have some developers where, they'll toss in hard and very hard mode, and that just makes it where the computer is just cheaper.
Yeah.
That's the kind of difficulty that a lot of gamers do not like, is when the computer is just cheap. There's not really any satisfaction in a victory where you're just having to like cheese your opponent in some kind of way. You want to genuinely win because you outsmarted or you beat the computer on your own terms. And so a lot of developers I know during like older eras when they would do like difficulty sliders, it just made it where the computer could just do things where they could just like read your mind. It's like, oh, I saw that you're like 50 yards over that way. Oh, I see you hiding in that corner. I know exactly where to aim for you. It's like that kind of stuff. That's just cheap. And so if you are going to have a difficulty slider, you have to tune every mode to where it works. It's still fair to the player. And I think this game series is good at that is The Last of Us. Last of Us 2 especially. I know Last of Us 2 has some of the best accessibility options like in gaming period for its time. I know it won awards for that. Even back when people were giving it flack for other things, you could not dispute that the game had really good accessibility options. And so if we are going to have difficulty levels, I think that it should be designed in the way that Last of Us was, in that easy, it holds your hand to an extent, and normal, it means just regular, and hard, it gives you a bit more of a challenge where the enemies are smarter. They're not cheap, but they're smarter. And I think a game like Elden Ring is just designed from the ground up to be difficult. Do I think that's wrong? No, I think that's just the way the developers intended. I don't know. It's kind of like, and this could get into a whole talk about the philosophy of because you have like your artist intention and everything.
Yeah. Artistic
And
intent.
yeah, like artist intent, and I don't know. I don't want to take that away from game developers. If they want their game to be a certain way, I don't want to say no. You have to make it where you have to have like a slider for it all, because it really depends on the game as to if that even works or not. Because some games, it does feel it is better when you have like an organic difficulty. Like some games, they'll start out easy and then the difficulty kind of gradually ramps up, and that also works too, in my opinion. So I guess really to ultimately answer your question, well, I have two answers. I guess one in terms of how I feel. Um, I think for accessibility's sake, like if we really wanted to make it where every single game would be accessible to just everybody, I think it couldn't hurt to have a difficulty setting. But at the same time, I do want to give respect to like the artist's intention, or if developers want a game to be inherently difficult. And you know what? At the end of the day, I'm just going to say, at the end of the day, there's some games that are not for you. It is what it is. It's like there's things in life that sometimes they aren't for you. You know what? I tried to play the piano when I was younger. I couldn't get into it. I look back at it now and it's like, man, I look at people who can play instruments and I think they're amazing. But you know what? I didn't have the tenacity and the patience to stick with it. And you know what? Whose fault is that? That's mine. It just wasn't for me. And I think that, we kind of have to look at games the same way. It's just some games, they're not going to be for you in the same way that certain genres aren't for you. And you know what? If you don't want to play that, like all of you have said, there's a plethora, multitude, millions of games out there that you can play. There's phone games, console games, PC games. So you know what? If this mainstream game isn't for you, you don't have to play it. Go and play something else. I mean, just as long as you enjoy that game, then that's fine. You know, it just is what it is. I just think that there's nothing wrong with the difficulty settings, but at the same time, I think that sometimes you just have to acknowledge that if you don't want to get into a game, like if the difficulty really scares you off, you just kind of have to sit with that. You know, I mean, there's not like a difficulty setting for the piano or like learning an instrument or learning like a martial art or something. I mean, you have to start at a certain level and you have to eventually get better. You know, so there's just some games that are going to be the same way. It just is what it is.
All right, I know I said I was going to let you have the last word, but I technically lied. Because I don't think I got a chance to say which was my preferred option. And I'm going to be honest, I understand. Like, okay, first off, let's get this accessibility nonsense out of the way. There's two different versions of accessibility. There's accessibility when we talk about, like, okay, I'm colorblind and we have to include a colorblind mode. Yeah. Or I have, hearing issues, and so we need to have readable subtitles on the screen. That type of thing. I'm all for that. And I think that should be mandatory.
Yeah.
So when people say accessibility, especially when it comes to Souls, what they mean is I want an easy mode. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just don't like the couch language in other language and pretend like I'm saying something that I'm really not saying. What I'm saying is I want an easy mode for whatever the fuck I'm trying to play. So let's just talk about easy, hard, medium, that type shit. So I mean, like, I'm with Terance ultimately, like, because when it comes to artistic intent, like, I'm a creator, I create things, and so I don't want somebody telling me what I can and can't create, or like I gotta create it this kind of way, and fuck that. So like I do agree, like if because the director of Elden Ring, I believe, definitely I forget the name of the guy, but he talked about like no
Miyazaki.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was Miyazaki that said this or somebody else, but somebody at FromSoft said straight up, we're not going to stop making difficult games. That is who we are. That's our brand. And you know what? Hats off to them. Like, if that's who you are, so be it. You just gotta, like Terance said, accept some shit just not for you. Like, Elden Ring, like, I thought I wasn't going to dig Elden Ring. I've seen, like, dozens of hours at this point of people playing it on Twitch. Like, my boy Rakeem, he playing it. I've seen him play it. So I've seen a lot of it. I thought it was going to be more gothic horror type things. It's really more of just like a dark fantasy type of game. Like, it's like if they turn Berserk into an RPG, just minus all the horse rape and all that other nonsense in that game and in that series. But like, I don't like. I could have seen myself playing it, but like it's too hard. Like I can tell. Like I'm looking at it, I'm seeing the stamina bar. I'm seeing people die over and over again. I'm like, this not for me. And you know what? That's fine. Like, as long as people aren't bugging me like, no, you gotta play it, you gotta try, you might like, no, I know I'm not going to like it, and it is a waste of my time to invest hours into a game that I am not going to enjoy on the possibility that I might enjoy.
That's valid.
So like, here's the thing. When you get into it, like when I get into a game, I'm like, all right, well, if I skip this game, just like Terance said, there are so many other games. Like, I'm not short on games to play at all. Like, I didn't play Elden Ring. There is a game that is coming out. We talked about it just a little bit ago. In about 3 weeks, Strangers of Paradise. That has kind of that same kind of Souls-like feel, but there's a difficulty mode. So I'll probably just put that bitch on easy and just run through it. And it still might be kind of challenging because I saw streamers play it, and I was like, whoa, this is. They was playing the hell out of the game on the hardest difficulty, and it took them hours just to beat just the beta test boss. And so I'm like, all right, well, I'm probably going to put it on easy, and it'll probably still be a challenge because it's already so challenging as it stands. So, like, that's fine. Like, I'll deal with that. And down the line, there will be plenty of other games that come out this year to the point that I'll still even skip. Because, like, when Cyberpunk came out, and this is kind of roundabout, but I'm getting somewhere with it. Cyberpunk, before it came out, it was announced as a first-person game. Y'all know me. I don't like first-person games. And I said, well, I just won't play it then. And everybody's like, no, you gotta play it. Now, of course, the game turned out to be a piece of shit. But even if it hadn't been, if it had been game of the generation type shit, so be it. I don't care. Like, it's first person, I'm just not gonna play it. And I still was not short on games to play. This year, I won't be short on games to play. I skipped Elden Ring. I'll probably loop back around and play Horizon. I'm pretty sure Ghost of Tsushima is coming to PC. I'll play that. I'll play like a bunch of other games. Gotham Knights is coming out. Like I won't be short on games at all. And I think people need to learn how to just accept if a game, like even if the game looks cool, if the mechanics of that game are not for you, then you just got to accept that. You got to hold that L and move on. Like I do think developers should put difficulty sliders in their games and make things, so that everybody can get it. But if they don't want to do that, and if they want to take that risk, because it is a risk, that's a financial risk that they are taking. Like you choose not to pay, like you choose not to put that in the game. There are some people that will choose not to buy your game, and like hats off to them, because like there are a lot of people. This is a very, like, as games become more expensive, it's become a very risk averse industry. People don't want to spend. People don't want to take no chances. They want to make the most focused, tested, get everybody to play a type ass game. And FromSoft was like, fuck that. We gonna make our game the way we want to make it. And if you like it, cool. I appreciate you. Come on. If you don't, oh well, we'll see you on the next one, or we won't see you. And I mean, I respect
satisfy everybody. You end up satisfying no one.
Nobody.
You end up satisfying nobody. Exactly. So like, for them to take that risk, hats off to them. I won't be playing the game, but I do appreciate it. And that's what people are going to have to learn how to do. If a game developer chooses not to put difficulty in their game, difficulty sliders in their game, you just got to hold that L.